This very well-engineered box is the Xpector. It's designed and built in Nettetal by the legendary Elysia. It's a little bit unique, it's a lot a bit German, and it's all analog. This is a video manual for those of you who don't read real good.
The Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
Xpector is a combination of two-channel headphone amp, dual-channel mixer stereo monitor controller, and artist pacifier. Xpector is mainly focused on tracking engineers, but it's also relevant for mix engineers and producers. It's actually for anyone who's looking to work with better quality headphone amplifiers than the ones that come standard on audio interfaces. Xpector can obviously do a lot, but foremostly it's a headphone amp with dual control sets allowing you to have real-time, adjustable... Oh no, that's wrong. Foremostly it's a headphone amp with dual control sets that are accessible to both you and your artist. Xpector is freestanding. It's a 500 size unit, but it's not designed as a 500 or lunchbox piece due to the nature of the extensive connectivity on the rear. It actually belongs to a unique Elysia-only format known as Cube. It isn't rack mountable, and you actually need to find a permanent spot for it to reside. Using a pair of balanced TRS cables, you can start by patching your interface's speaker outputs to the DAW ins on Xpector. Adjacent to those ins, you'll see a pair of XLR outs, and these are for your powered monitors. Now Xpector is connected, and technically it's already usable as your final output stage, but you would be mental to stop there. If you have a separate hardware preamp, a vocal chain or channel strip, you can make a cable connection from its output to the Xpector's direct in, taking the corresponding direct out and plugging it to an input on your audio interface. Now, if you use a UAD Sphere or your preamp is software-based, Unison plugins for example, then you'll need to use the console software or equivalent in whatever interface you're using, and then take those Q outputs and route them out through that interface. I have 3 and 4 available, so patch one of those into the direct in of Xpector with a 1/4-inch cable. If, like me, you have both setups, then you can just run a single TRS into each direct in on the Xpector, in which case you'll just mute whichever signal you're not using at source. So now both you and your artist have independent monitoring control of their microphone. This doesn't affect the volume of the mic signal being recorded, by the way. Noise.
Elysia's Xpector is really, really cool. It gives me an opportunity to adjust my levels without going into the mix and giving me control, so I have the perfect tools in hand.
Let's take a butcher's at the controls on the front panel of the unit. Engineers and artists can use their respective DAW and direct controls to level up their personal mixes by blending between the DAW outs, which is the music, and the direct signal, which is the vocals or the instrument or whatever you happen to be recording through that input. If you're the artist and you want the music only to be louder, then turn up the DAW control right here on the artist side. For louder vocals, turn up the direct control. Perfect. Now for overall loudness, both artist and engineer can use these big level controls at the bottom of the unit. With the uppermost knob parked in the center position, artists can boost or cut a gentle-ish high shelf, and likewise they can use the knob beneath to mitigate intrusive low end or slam the bass instead. The uppermost knob on the engineer's side is for choosing how you want to monitor the signal. Position 1 is simply stereo. Position 2 is both channels summed to mono, very much like the mono switch on a large format recording console. Position 3 is the differences of the sides only. Position 4 is the left channel of your stereo input signal summed to mono. So everything that's not panned right from center. And finally, position 5 is the absolute opposite, meaning the right channel of your stereo input summed to mono. Those last two may take some getting used to, but trust me, you don't want to hear those signals panned hard left and right. Take the time to explore the different mode settings on a variety of mixes, including songs playing through your computer from any source like a thumb drive, YouTube, Apple Music, Tidal, whatever. You'll quickly realize how useful they are for live comparisons of your track to released music when you're mixing.
Oh, no, that's no good for me. I got some trim coming at 12.
The trim control lets you balance out the volume difference between your headphones and the monitors for a smoother handoff. At the top is the speaker button, which literally turns your main monitors on or off. When it's red, the monitors are on, but the signal to the engineer's headphones will be cut. Swap. This button flips the focus of the trim control from headphones when it's lit white to speakers when it's lit red. That way you can decide which you'd like to be your main reference level, which you then set with the adjacent trim control. Mute. With these two buttons, you can mute your respective headphones. Now, some smart ass out there might be wondering why there's no crossfeed control for the engineer. Crossfeed is a technique for headphones to better emulate speaker behavior when mixing. But here's the thing, if you're working in open back planar headphones like Meze, Hi-Fi Man, Audacy or Dan Clark, then it's almost universally unnecessary, as crossfeed can debatably sound like bollocks when using these types of headphones. Look at the old tagger on Xpector. It's about 1,500 boners.
Yes, bones or clams or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's billed as a high-end unit is unlikely that users will be using shit headphones with it.
Adios, turd nuggets.
Facts. I'll be approaching the somewhat awkward subject of absurdly expensive headphones soon. No audio interface can honestly be expected to have a headphone amp of this flexibility or power. The Xpector is clean and it's loud. It's actually amazing how quickly you get used to the stupidly premium feeling controls of the Xpector. If you park it somewhere convenient like I have, you'll find it quickly becomes second nature to just reach out and start adjusting the Xpector before you touch anything else. And I think that's a big part of its appeal. And then, of course, there's also the convenience of having that monitor control, even though it's just for a single pair. That's more than enough for most people. Let me just address this. There's no latency at all when monitoring through Xpector, which is very, very nice. You just have to remember that you have to mute the audio track that you're recording to in your DAW to benefit from that. As already mentioned, Xpector is powerful and it's designed to drive even the most high impedance headphones. I love that both engineer and artist can plug into the front or back of Xpector, which keeps things nice and tidy at one's workstation, thanks to a pair of mirrored headphone outs on the rear. If you do need an Xpector or you just bagged one, chances are that's why you're here. If you thought you didn't need one, there's a very good chance you change your mind after just a couple of uses. I really can't think of anything serious to complain about because Xpector does exactly what it's supposed to do, with a minimal amount of fuss and a reasonably compact footprint. I will say that the positioning of the power switch is a bit mental though. I really do wish it was on the front, and perhaps for those engineers who choose to reference enclosed backs, that crossfeed circuit with an on-off button would be a useful addition. Finally, I would like to see a single space rack option available, so perhaps that could be a consideration for Elysia in the future. Let me know your thoughts about Xpector or your experiences with headphone amps in general in the comments below. And consider subscribing if you'd like to learn more about my take on both the plugins and the gear that I choose to use in my production, composing, and mixing workflow. Cheers very much and see you later.